not? Why not? And we're live. Oh my God, after all of that, it's live. And I'm set up on the website. I'm set up on Truth Unity, set up on this site, on my lead pages. Okay, so we're good. We're good. So let me get to the blog because I've got to pull up today's blog post. All right. Let me open the PowerPoint because that would be tragic to not have the PowerPoint. So good evening, everybody. This is Reverend Sherri James, and I just lived the lesson that I'm about to teach. So tonight we are talking about how to use affirmations and denials, and we get an opportunity every day, all day, and I got mine tonight. So I will be sharing from a very practical perspective this lesson, and I hope that it is empowering for you. Those of you that are having trouble getting back in, or maybe you didn't get the link, or my apologies. This was just an odd night. My computer decided to update literally at like 6:57, and it updated in a way that I couldn't like stop the update. So, you know, my apologies. But I got a good lesson. I got a very good, meaning I got a good lesson, like lesson for me, but I actually have a good lesson for you that I think you will like tonight. And so our conversation tonight is on affirmations and denials. Let me pull up the PowerPoint. And really what affirmations are and denials are, and I love how she opens this chapter. And she talks about, she says, a daily prayer pattern calls for the use of denials and affirmations. A daily prayer pattern calls for the use of denials and affirmations. Alita just says she can't get in. Let me send her a new email. If you guys could bear with me, it's a little bit of an unusual broadcast tonight because my computer decided to have a baby. Oh, okay, that's tragic. Okay, let me give this to Alita. Control C. Alita. Corrected link. Oops. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, awesome. So when we go through our day, this feels like an extreme case. We're literally at 7:40 and I start normally at 7 o'clock. But when we go through our day, there are things that happen during our day that we have the opportunity to respond to, and we have the opportunity to deal with. And it is how we engage with what is happening in our world that actually determines what our experience of it is. And sometimes there are things that are happening, meaning there's stuff that's just playing out, and we are powerless to stop it. When it decided to update itself, there was no button that says cancel due later. You know, there was all it said was close and it'll happen behind the scenes. I was like, fine, let's just close it. And then all of a sudden everything is like shutting down. So sometimes there are things that are happening in our experience that we are powerless to stop from happening. And when we find ourselves in that situation, we really have an opportunity. We always have an opportunity, but it's especially in moments like that where things are beyond our control. They're not going the way that we want them to, and we've got a different agenda, and there's something else that's driving us in a new way. And so this is what denials and affirmations are. And so I want to talk about denials and affirmations in a way that hopefully will be a little different than the way that you've heard it. Most of the, well, I don't know, I'm guessing most of the people that come to the Bible Hangout come from a New Thought background or openness to New Thought. And so there is this, we have a way that we talk about affirmations and denials, and I'm always looking for an unconventional way to explain it because I really want you to get it. So let me just jump right in and let's get to it. We're going to skip right over announcements. We're going to talk about why prayer matters. And then we'll talk about the story of the hookworm epidemic, and then how denials work and how affirmations work. I do want to tell you this. If you're in the Los Angeles area, or if you're traveling this way, we've got a new series at Up Church called How to Pray a Deeper Prayer. And the hashtag is Pray Ocean Deep. So if you want to learn how to pray ocean deep, this is really an opportunity. And what makes me so excited about this series is, one, you guys, me and you, we're in a series right now on prayer. But in this one, there's a type of prayer, and we've been kind of going beneath the surface, but there's a type of prayer that's like on the surface. And the thing is, on the surface of the water, there's a lot of good stuff to see. On the surface of the ocean, you can see dolphins, because they come up out of the water. You can see flying fish. They literally jump up out of the water and dive back in. You can see seals. If you're unlucky, you see a couple sharks. So the thing is that there is an opportunity for you just at the surface. But it's when you dare to plume the depths of the ocean that you actually get to see all of the wonders of the ocean. And it's the same thing with prayer. If you just pray on the surface, if you simply only pray for just the things that you need, it can be an absolute blessing for you. If you pray for, hold on, guys, I'm getting messages. I want to make sure I just honor the people that I can see. If you pray for, for tonight. There we go. If you pray for just simply when you have a problem, you can get that prayer answered. That's fine. You can that prayer, it's possible to have that prayer answered. But there is something else to be found if you're willing to plume the depths of prayer. And so this series, How to Pray a Deeper Prayer, or hashtag Pray Ocean Deep, is about going beneath the surface. It's about setting the conditions for true prayer. And so if you're in the Los Angeles area, I would love for you to join us for this series live. We are going to do our best to make the series available afterwards, and you'll be able to purchase it. But we're just really excited about this series. And so I'm just going to take a moment to at least plug that series. The scripture is, whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. Whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. And that's Matthew 21:22. And so let's just take a moment to relax, because there's a lot that has happened up to this point. And so I just want to call on the energy intelligence to just be with us right now. This information is powerful information, and I really feel like I got a personal lesson so that I could explain it in a fresh and vibrant way. And so I thank you, God, for that lesson. And I just thank you for those who have ears to hear what has to be said, what will be said tonight. And I thank you, God, for giving me the right words to explain this topic. And I thank you that I just thank you so much for all that you're doing for us right now. And I ask that you anoint this class. I actually feel that it's already anointed. And I just say thank you. And so it is. So why prayer matters? Prayer matters because our problems hook into us in a way that makes us believe they are permanent or that they are real. And only prayer can dislodge a persistent problem like that. So what happens with our problems is that something might happen, right? We have whatever is our prayer. Hold on, guys. I'm multitasking for Eve's. Let me see. Link to join live and link to get into chat room. So when we have problems, sometimes those problems, they link into us in a way where they feel visceral. Like when my computer started doing what it was doing, it felt extremely real, meaning it felt like this is really awful. Like this is eating into the time that I have. And at first when I thought I could log back in and then I realized I had to create an entirely new webinar. And so it feels like a really real problem or having permanence and actual reality. But it's passing because the truth is that the problem is now solved. We are actively in the webinar. And while we don't have all of the people that were here before, we have some of the people who were here before, and the webinar is recorded. And so those who were completely adversely affected by the outage that happened will simply have an opportunity to watch it on the rebroadcast. My point being is that sometimes our problems hook into us in a way where they feel real, and we begin to respond to that, as opposed to remaining poised and remaining in our peace. Reverend Della would say, nothing has the permission to disturb the calm peace of my soul. We must get to the place where nothing has the power or permission to disturb the calm peace of our soul, that in the face of whatever, that I am poised. And it doesn't mean that that's not a challenge. And so prayer matters because prayer is your way for staying poised. Okay. Some people think poise is when you get your game face on, right? And so we talk about people that are unflappable, but I'm not talking about resistance. I'm talking about where things happen and you are completely relaxed in the moment. You are that this is what is happening. So let's let this happen. We can't do anything about it happening. So let's let this happen because this, for whatever reason, needs to play out. So, and there are times when people are, they give the appearance of being unmoved, but if you actually cut them open with a little knife, you just see balls of tension. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being in a place where shoulders relaxed, at peace. Something that's happening right now in my experience is that someone rear-ended me earlier in the summer, and I have an older car, and I turned the car in, and it could go either way, but it's enough damage that's been done to my car, and because of the type of car that I have and the type of expense that it is to fix my car, even though it's an older car, it's potentially could total the car. And the collision center called me to say, we're going to tear it down. I think we can get it done without totaling your car, but I just want to tell you that the adjuster is really being a jerk about this, and I think he's already made it up in his mind to total the car. And he gives me his reasons for believing that to be so. And I said, okay. I said, you know what? I'm just going to know that what is for the highest good is going to happen. And I got off the phone with him, and I immediately went into prayer to just say, look, let me be at peace with however this plays out. If the car needs to be total it and let me move on. Or if it's not total, then let it be fixed and let it be restored to its youthful pristine. And so it's being in that space of relaxation, no tension in the shoulders, right? This is what prayer is about. It's about that poise. So even in the face of extreme circumstances, you can be at peace. This is what true non-resistance is where you are at peace within yourself. But the only way to get there is prayer. In the absence of prayer, you may look unflappable, but underneath your surface is a boiling kettle. And that's not what I'm talking about. And so prayer is important because the only way that you get to show up and actually be unflappable is to pray. And that's why prayer matters and why it's so important. So this scary looking creature, when I saw this picture, I thought, what I'm about to tell you tonight is probably going to change the way you do everything. so, so this is the hookworm. Look at that thing. It's got like, it's like a little hook. So what happened with the hookworm was that we had a hookworm epidemic. And some of you may know this if you have pets, because your pets can get hookworm. And it's gotten from basically bare feet on the ground. In the early 1900s, and in the South, there was this massive hookworm epidemic. It wasn't just in the South. It was like in different places all over the world. But it was a hookworm epidemic. And what the hookworm does is that it enters the body through the bare foot when you walk outdoors and, on bare ground. And it enters the body, and then it gets into your intestines and it latches onto your intestinal walls. Now, the symptoms are what you would expect, abdominal pain, irritable bowels, nausea, vomiting, all of those things. The other thing that it does is that it drains you of energy. And so literally you're just listless. And so there's a stereotype of Southerners that comes out of a very real place where there were like millions of people in the South in the early 1900s who were basically suffering from hookworm disease. And there were all these jokes from the Northerners or the Yankees about how lazy Southerners are. And it was an ongoing kind of, joke about the whole thing. But if you think about it, in the summer, you could go barefoot basically the whole summer because of the type of climates that we have in the southern part of the US. When the epidemic was discovered, there's a whole story behind just getting the people to believe that it wasn't like a plot from a northern company that wanted to sell more shoes to get Southerners to wear shoes. That was a whole other thing. But when they finally cured the people, the cure actually ended up being very simple. There is an extract called thymol, Thymol, and thymol is found it's found in the oil from thyme, the spice thyme, and it is which is spelled Thyme. It's found in there, and so the thymol ingested pries the hookworm away from the intestine. And then you follow it with Epsom salt and water, and the Epsom salt and water flushes the hookworm out of your body. And the cure happens inside of 24 to 48 hours. So this was massive. Now, I'm in the middle of reading Rockefeller's biography, and so this was part of the story because the discovery of this and why his money was a part of treating it was part of a major philanthropic effort that he was doing to raise the economy in the South. And one of the things had to do with solving hookworm disease. But I thought it was such a perfect analogy for denials and affirmations, because our problems hook into us like a hookworm, and it grabs onto the walls of our consciousness, and we are literally drained of energy. And I know you know this experience where something might be going on in your, especially something that's persistent, like persistent unemployment or underemployment or persistent health challenges, or something that's just been happening for a while, and just thinking about it makes you tired. And so the thing is that you're so used to just like the words you use are things like, I'm so tired of this, I'm just tired of this, right? And those are the words that come out of your mouth. And what's happening is that the problem has latched onto you in such a way that it is eating your energy. But let me tell you something. It's eating your energy because you're giving it your energy. And I'm going to show you how. And so the hookworm, I thought, was just a powerful analogy. And when I read about it, and then when I found this picture, I was like, I will never walk barefoot anywhere again. Not in the house, not outdoors, not in my bedroom. Look at that thing. That thing looks like something out of a horror movie. I'm sure this was the model for something for a horror film. So the thing about a problem is that every problem was once a parasitic negative thought. And we may be at the point that we're personalizing our problems. And what we need is a mental agent to separate us in thought from them. So when the Southerners were suffering from hookworm disease, this was a big, if you can imagine experiencing something where you are completely debilitated. And so it was unfathomable that a cure could be had within 24 to 48 hours. Like, if you think about that, it would be like somebody telling you, you know what, your whole body is cancerous, and then inside of 24 to 48 hours, all the tumors are gone. Like, it was that level of miraculous. And so all of a sudden vitality was restored, and people were able to return to work, and well, it was an agricultural society, but they were able to do more work, and the listlessness that characterized them, a lot of the Southerners, was gone. And so this was a major thing. And so and it didn't cost anything. The cost of the thymol and the Epsom salt was about 50 cents, the equivalent of 50 cents. So sometimes our problems are so big that it seems implausible that it's riding on one thought or one hookworm. Our problems seem so massive. I don't have enough money for, and you run down the list of things you don't have enough money for, or I don't have, I need to have a certain procedure done, and I need, and there's no doctor in my vicinity to do it, but even if there was, it would be thousands of dollars, right? It's that the thing that is in front of you seems so big that it's implausible that it could be reduced to a single negative thought. And that's why this hookworm analogy is so powerful, because now it's not just one hookworm that's in there, but it's one that starts the stuff, right? You only need one hookworm to get it going. And you only need one negative thought to get it going. That one negative thought is enough to basically grow into a whole mountain hill. By the time you are paying attention to it, it is now draining you of all of your energy. You're tired, you're listless, and you're dragging through life. And so with the negative thinking, or with the problems that you have, it's to remember that every negative appearance can be reduced to the negative thought that caused it. And it may seem implausible, but I'm encouraging you to go with this idea, and we're going to talk about how to separate ourselves from the things that are happening, and then begin to create something different. So how denials work. So she gives right at the first page in the chapter, she calls it the all-purpose denial. And she says that this is the basic form. This, and this can be whatever it is powerless to take or keep my good from me. This is powerless to take or keep my good from me. And the reason I chose this not equal sign is because a lot of times when we have our problems, we think of ourselves as connected to our problem in some way. We're equal to it in some way. And we're equal in a way that keeps it linked to us. It's able to keep its talons in us because we have identified with it. And so what denials do is they make us unequal to the problem. And let me take that a little bit further. So sometimes when we're looking at problems, what we'll be dealing with is, believing that something is ours. So for example, Reverend Della, and I learned this from her, when she would have something happening to her physically, she would never say my whatever this is, right? So my diabetes or my cancer or my whatever, she was very clear, this thing is attacking my body. And so always in speech and thought, she kept the problem separated from her. And there was no identifying with the problem. It wasn't denying that there was something to be addressed. But in speech and thought, it was keeping it separate and apart from her. This might be happening in me, but it is not who I am. And how many times have you heard someone talk about my diabetes, my bad back, my poor credit, my dysfunctional family? And so we get to the place where we're personalizing the things that we are faced with. And when we personalize it, we link ourselves to it. It's basically like taking off your shoes and running barefoot through the park and saying, hookworms, here I am. Come on in. Here's an invitation. I've got some room in the intestine over here, or I've got some room in this intestine over here. And come on in and eat. Right? That's essentially what you are doing when you identify with whatever it is condition in your life. Right? My job that I don't want, however you do, when you personalize it and you make it yours, you link yourself to it. And so what denials do is denials begin the work of basically separating you and making you unequal to whatever the problem is. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Moving on. Ray says, all right, Alita, you made it. Yes, we're all getting back in. Thank y'all. I got a practical lesson. This was a wonderful experiment in denials and affirmations. Reverend Della, so I hope I'm not feeding into any silliness. Reports, I've gotten phone calls. And so let me say officially on this video, Reverend Della is fine. It was some very irresponsible reporting on the part of Farrah Gray, because that's whose site it was on. And someone took a picture of her at Roma Downey's Walk of Fame star, and she looks like a normal 85-year-old woman, and she doesn't do all of the glam stuff that she did before when she was actively in public life. And so she came out looking the way that we see her when she comes to church on Sundays, but someone took a picture and built an entire story around it and circulated it. The good news is that Reverend Della ain't on social media, and so nobody took that mess to her. So I just want to let you know that. And I can genuinely forgive whoever did it. Right, just sending one more link to Reverend Barbara. All right, so one of the things that I watched her do, and Ray, I know you can attest to this, is that when she would talk about what she was dealing with. So she had brain surgery in 1979. And has long since recovered from that. And the thing is that you never hear her say my aneurysm. She never says that. She says things like, well, my brain exploded or whatever. She speaks about it in a way where she never personalizes the condition, but it is always as something that has happened in her, but not something that she is. The other thing is that she has worked with and lived with diabetes for many years. And so she would, in all the time that I've known her, in the 20 years that I've known her, I cannot think of one time that I have ever heard her say my diabetes. And I know you know somebody today that you can probably say, send them this video, say, stop saying my diabetes, because just cut that out. And the thing is that she has lived successfully, whereas most people decline over time. That, she has definitely dealt with the effects of diabetes, but not had the type of decline that you would normally see in a diabetic patient, because she does not identify with the problem itself. So there's no personalizing it. And so I want to encourage you that whatever it is that's happening in your world is the first step is just stop personalizing. Don't call it my anything. but speak about it in such a way that it is this thing that might be playing out in your experience, but it's not who you are. It may be playing out in your experience, but it is not who you are. So that you can begin to separate. Before the hookworms could be flushed out of the intestines, the thymol had to come in and it literally pried the hookworms away from the intestinal walls. And that's what the denials do. That our problems persist because they are hooked into the walls of our consciousness. And so we must have the denials to come in and pry the problem away to separate us in thought, right? So I'm not denying that something has happened. I'm not denying that someone hit my car and there's a possibility my car may be totaled. That's not what I'm denying, but I am separating myself from it so that I'm not identified with it. This is happening and I will respond to it appropriately. But I will not get emotional about it. I will not lose my mind about it. I will not do a whole bunch of crying about it or worrying about it. Do you get what I'm saying? That it is staying in a state of peace, and denials help you to do that. And sometimes you can go there automatically. So, with the car thing, that was, relatively easy in the sense that it was like, okay, this is happening. Let me sit down and handle it in prayer. But sometimes there are things that happen, case in point. So we're in the process of changing over the database in our church. Big move. So excited. I don't even know what to do with myself. We have an older database that is challenging. It's old. It's outdated, right? It's just, but we're changing over to the new database. And I spent all of Tuesday trying to get the data off the computer. And it was one problem after another after another. And the program itself was so old that when I tried to move the data onto a CD, because that version of the program was written before we had DVD players in computers, the DVD player was making it unreadable. Like they couldn't talk to one another because the technology couldn't read the DVD. Anyway, it just, and so that was essentially the bulk of what happened on Tuesday. And so I'm sitting there like, oh my God. Okay. Now mind you, my sermon notes didn't get done at that time. The other things that in the week I had to put off finishing, getting started on the blog post. And so all these things are happening. And so I am frustrated. Like, are you kidding me? Like, just, and so those are the moments when the denial can help you separate in consciousness from it. To not see it as my problem. Right? And to begin to depersonalize it. And when you depersonalize it, you take all of the energy away from it. And that's what denials do, is that they depersonalize whatever it is that you're going through, and it begins to withdraw the energy from it. And then when the affirmations come in, and that's our next piece, when the affirmations come in, they flood the consciousness with good. So if you can imagine that the problems are like the hookworms linked into the walls of the intestines, right? And so the problem is like that. And so now you've had the thymol in the form of a denial come in and pry it away. And then the affirmations are like a coating that essentially begin to crowd and eventually flush the negative thoughts out of your system. They fill up the space, and then they magnetize you for more thoughts like them. They fill up the space, and then they magnetize you for more thoughts like them. And so there is a power in the affirmation. There is a power in that's what I want to say. There's a power in affirming what it is that you want. And you have to be bold and speak it into consciousness and speak it into being. typically when we work with affirmations and denials, we get distracted, other things catch our attention, and we never follow something all the way through. But if you will follow it through, the cure can be just as fast as the cure for hookworm disease. But we think that the problem, because it is the size that it is the, as extensive as it is, that somehow that speaks to the size of the solution. And the thing is that every appearance can be reduced back to the thought that created it. And once you take it back down to the thought that created it, then it's simply creating the right affirmation that just keeps on moving it out of the way. But those denials are the first line of defense to basically begin to separate you in thought from the problem itself. Constance says, here's a link to a video with Dr. Joe Dispenza showing how a new thought can be formed in the brain. Oh, cool. Very cool. Put that in the chat room too. Awesome. 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 So she gives a formula or some rules for how to build affirmations. And the first thing that she says is to begin any prayer statement with either I know that, or I give thanks that, or for. And use the present tense forms throughout the prayer, and whenever possible, insert the word now. So I know that, or I give thanks that, and then speak in the present tense, and where appropriate, put in the word now. And the reason that that is powerful, and the reason that you want to do that, is that you are claiming. So the thing is that there is no prayer that is God's answer to every prayer is yes, even a selfish prayer, because at the essence of every prayer is some type of spiritual seeking, and the yes that God is giving the pure part of the prayer. So there may be a selfish prayer. God, I want that woman's husband, right? The pure part of that is the desire for companionship. And the answer to that is that, yes, you may have companionship. No, you may not have her husband, but yes, you may have companionship. And so what the affirmation does is that it begins to empower the pure part of your prayer. And so just simply praying, I know that there is a divine right selection for me. I know that I can have what is for my highest good. I know that I can have what is best for me. That the yes that God gives is always to the purest part of your prayer. And so your work then is to make your prayers affirmative. You also pray in the present tense, because when you put your good in the future, it stays in the future. So I have a new car now. I have the resources that I need now. I affirm that right here, right now, they're available, and they really are. But you need to say it in a way that impresses your mind. And so when you separate the problem from yourself in thought, because the problem itself may still be playing out, but you separate yourself in thought, you no longer get emotionally involved in the problem. And denials help you to disentangle yourself emotionally from the problem. Then you begin to affirm what it is that you do want. And you begin to feel it as if it is here right now. And then she gives a couple of prayers that I thought were powerful. There are two prayers. One is the prayer of St. Patrick, and the other is the prayer of St. Francis. And she gives an example of how to rewrite prayers. So sometimes we have prayers, many of us come from traditional backgrounds where we pray to a God in the sky. We thought of Jesus as the singular Son of God, and not and special and different from us. But we had prayers that might be near and dear to our hearts. And so there are ways to adjust the language of those prayers so that they fit the truth that you are studying now. And so she uses that example. I was going to highlight both of these, but I will focus on just the prayer of St. Patrick. So what she said about the prayer of St. Patrick is that she said the following lines can be prayed. I take for my sureties the power of God to guide me, the might of God to uphold me, the wisdom of God to watch over me, the ear of God to hear me, the word of God to give me speech, the hand of God to protect me, the way of God to go before me, the shield of God to shelter me. Christ is with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ within me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ at my right, Christ at my left, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of every man who speaks to me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. And what she did with that is that the word is that's in brackets if you have the book. The original line said be. So it would be Christ be with me. But to say Christ be with me is to suggest that Christ could not be with me. But Christ is who I am. So it is to begin to adjust the words of some of your favorite prayers in a way that they fit the truth that you now study and that affirm who you really are. And so she talks about, then she took to the prayer of St. Francis. And St. Francis, she said, this is another great prayer. And she said, the first two lines are, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Hold on. So that's the original line, an instrument of peace. And then what she does is she changes it to say, Lord, I am an instrument of your peace. And then goes on to the rest of the prayer. Where there is hatred, I sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. And then she goes on, she says, in the second part of the prayer, only a few small changes make the entire prayer one for the realization of spiritual growth in this present lifetime. And the original first clause, the second part is, O divine master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. And she just shifted it to say, O divine master, I do not so much seek to be consoled as to console. And so it takes out this idea that I'm asking for something that I cannot have. It's to realize that every prayer I pray is answered. The purest part of every prayer I pray is answered. And the answer to it is yes. Yes, my child, you may have that. And so with the affirmative prayer, it is to begin to pray in a claiming way. That the denials separate you in consciousness from the problem. They make you unequal to it. They help you stop identifying with it and personalizing it and making it your truth. And then you follow it up with affirmations, and affirmations flood the consciousness with the good that you want. And if you will persist in this, the process can move as quickly as the cure for hookworm disease. That what may look like a big problem to you is nothing when you call on the energy of God and focus it and concentrate it in the direction that you want it to go to. Questions? Thank you, Constance, for sharing that. And so it's time to do something. Besides knowing that you really shouldn't run around barefoot, what else did you get from tonight's conversation and tonight's demonstration of affirmations and denials? And can you see the power of denials and affirmations in the practice of daily prayer? And then finally, what other questions do you have about denials and affirmations? And of course, please do leave me a comment on the YouTube video. The questions. thoughts, takeaways. Constance said, are you sure you did your full hour? It cannot be the end already. You know what happened is that part of it was me sending the messages to people saying, here's the information. But yeah, we were right at 8:23. We got another 7 minutes. But talk to me, because I mean, we had a very practical demonstration of needing to stay poised and stay connected and dialed in. And I appreciate you guys hanging in there. Yeah, I want to see this too. In fact, let me make sure I copy it, because this stuff goes away when you who said that? What is that from? Okay. Mercy me. But any questions, any takeaway, any questions on affirmations and denials? I tried to come with a different way of talking about them. And give you a different conversation. She said, at what point did you start denying and affirming that all is well? At the point that I saw my computer updating. So, you know, there was a part of me that was frustrated and can't believe this is happening, and that this is happening, and then I couldn't figure out I didn't know what was happening. And then when I realized, okay, I got to restart the computer, it was like, oh, okay, this will be a quick thing. I'll restart it, open up the room and get back in. And then seeing my computer in this like little loop, and it gives you like a little like hourglass kind of thing where it's like a little circle. And it was like, oh, okay, I'm in something right now. I'm in this thing right now, and I've got to let this play out. And so then it was like, all right, God, you got my attention. I'm here. You know, my brother has Jordan, so they're off at the park, and it's like, all right, so what are we gonna talk about, big guy? You know, so it was at that point that I was like, okay, I got it. Like this, be in this moment, be here now.
Okay, so that's like at the very beginning of something happening, where you take control of your thinking process and say, okay, it is what it is. Now let me move forward and find a solution.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And you know, the thing is that catch yourself where you catch yourself. Do you understand? Catch yourself where you catch yourself, meaning that, like, if I think back on like the data conversion thing, I don't think I caught myself until the data was actually with the organization. You know, so I'd already lived the whole problem, 24 hours of it. So it's just a mindfulness. You know, I'll tell you when I caught myself with the data conversion is when I sat down to close out the day in prayer. When I sat down in my prayer closet to close out the day in prayer, I had an opportunity to reflect on how I handled the situation. And that really, you know, that was one of those times when it was like, oh, okay, all right, this is not my finest moment, right? And so, you know, but there's something valuable about the fact that I had an opportunity to reflect on my day. And you know, I only recently developed that nighttime period of reflection. Most times I just go to bed. You know, I have my morning prayer, but I've never consistently had morning and evening prayer. And so now having that kind of bookend to my day really gives me an opportunity to think about myself. Constance says, yes, keyword is mindfulness. That's where the power comes in from within. Yeah. So then when I went back the next day, I was different. I was better. And I was especially better when that data was finally with the company and being transformed. Then I was really good. Yes, I did. I'm going to actually share that. She said, did you get my morning prayer and evening prayer? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And Phyllis sent me something awesome. She sent me a prayer manual. It's like a self-study course. And I had planned to send it out, but I ultimately didn't send it out because I realized that it's not public domain. And so I actually reached out to the author, and I'm going to do a private webinar with him probably sometime in October. And then I'm going to try to get him to offer his self-study course for free, or even teach it or something like that. But it's a whole prayer self-study thing that he has set up. So yeah, so thank you, everybody. The goodies that you guys are sending are awesome, awesome resources. Please do. Jared sent the thing that I sent you this week, which was, oh, I'm blanking. Tuesday was like Tuesday was like a light years ago. I don't remember what it was. Oh no, it was an article. It was the article. Oh yeah, that article. I thought it was so cool. It was this article, and this guy was talking about the not, going to these mainstream or mainline churches and not finding the Bible. And I thought, this is so interesting. Being in a Bible community like ours, and knowing that in mainline churches the Bible is kind of fading out, meaning it's still revered and you should have one, but nobody's like cracking it open. Yes, Alita, I like that. She says, my grandpa taught me to reflect on my day backwards at night. Yes, that's a Neville Goddard technique. Any other questions? Anything else that was helpful tonight? Thank you guys for hanging in there. I mean, really, right? Just thank you. Like, God bless you and thank you. I appreciate that and grateful for it. Any other questions? So next week is fun because we're going to be talking about the 7-step prayer. And this is the, so it's chapter 5, the 7-step prayer. In the edition that I have of the book, it starts on page 55, and it's a 7-step prayer. And so it starts with illumination and affirming the presence of God, and then it goes to adoration, and then forgiveness, and then acceptance of blessings in God's will, and then requesting guidance, and then praying for others, and then finally meditation. And so it gives you an order to almost like a checklist, like, okay, because sometimes it's like, how do I fit all of this in? And so she gives you this 7-step prayer so that you can kind of get everything in your prayer time. That, so if you sit down to pray for somebody, but you forget to forgive somebody, or you sit down to meditate, but you forget to ask for what you need. And it's like, here's 7 steps. Just, start here and then work your way to meditation. And so that's what we're going to talk about next week, is that 7-step prayer. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hear Jordan coming in, bright and chipper and excited and noisy. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you guys for hanging in there. I really appreciate it. This was a really interesting evening, and I look forward to next week. Thank you. JJ says, wonderful class, techno glitch and all. Thank you. All right, y'all, have a great night. Oh, you want to say hi? No? It's gonna come make noise, but not say hi. All right, well, there you go. Okay, bye-bye.